for airing respective documentaries glorifying and fueling terrorism and banditry in Nigeria. This is according to Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Minister of Information and Culture. It's been a while we heard from him. He's back and he's saying we're going to sanction BBC. This is not the first time he's, talking about this. Mr. C, let's come to you for analysis.
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, as we are all aware, there was a video from the BBC which showed certain terror kingpins and interviews with them, and also showing how the communities in Zamfara specifically had been affected by the violence that had ensued. And I didn't see the video that showed on Trust TV, so I can't speak to that. Now, the position of the federal government is that those videos appear to glorify terrorism and justify it. I have a slightly different bent because I actually did take time to watch the entire BBC video. And apart from speaking to the terror kingpins, where yes, there were parts of it which appeared to glorify what they'd done, but more importantly, it brought to the fore or brought to attention the level of havoc that has been wreaked in Zamfara State. A lot of schools have been shut down, and it spoke to a larger problem. And what is that problem? The Hausa and Fulani groups that had previously peacefully coexisted no longer coexist. They are now fighting each other, and once there's an attack launched by one group, there is certain to be a reprisal by the party on the receiving end. And both parties appear to be tired of the constant fighting, the constant killing, and the constant dislocation of people and properties. And it speaks to a larger problem, the near absence and the almost complete failure of the state and its actors. Because when you watch that video and you hear the accounts of victims from both sides, both Hausa and Fulani, they complain that attacks go on for hours, even days. There is no police presence, there's no police fight back, and that they're the mercies of murderous criminals who belong to both groups. Now, my takeaway from all of this was the video was very instructive, especially for those who have never lived in those parts of Nigeria, who do not have people who come from that part of Nigeria or have anything to do there. And it's very, I think the federal government should revisit its position. You say you want to punish the BBC for airing the video. Now, my question to the federal government is this: you reserve the right to punish whoever you want to punish. However, what was shown in that video, is it factually incorrect? Is it anything but the truth? And the answer is no.
But his argument is that whenever reputable platforms like the BBC give terrorists, a platform and show their face as if it's Nollywood, he wants to assure them that they will not get away without, appropriate sanctions meted
So,
out on
so
them.
Victor, he focused on one part of that interview. There are the other parts where that spoke about the suffering, the dislocation. 1 million Nigerians in Zamfara have been dislocated and removed from their homes. They're roaming all over the place or in IDP camps. Nobody is speaking to that. He did not address that. So the question is, Honorable Minister, did you watch the entire video or you only watched the portion that was shown to you today?
Yeah, it's clear if you watch the entire video, but he who is embarrassed is will never see clearly. The truth is, they find it embarrassing, and it's more important for them to obfuscate it, well, in the answers and the posture attitude toward Africa over resources, where someone there's a reason, guys, why
All right. Still staying with you.
they say like they just begin to think about it and suddenly realize it's not an emerging food crisis. We've had a food crisis looming for at least a decade because we've had communal conflict and clashes and insecurity, which is at the base of a lot of this food insecurity for over a decade, right? So these are not emerging things. Now it is key to us. They also mentioned rightly that next to petrol, that food is is the our largest import, and they're concerned and worried that we're not food sufficient. Clearly, we're not food sufficient. Things need to be done. The issue is, I'm going to keep this short because, again, it's a Nigerian story. We keep coming back to this over and over and over. The issue is that real action needs to be taken. How do we move? How do we move from the largely subsistence-based farming that we do today to mechanized farming? How do we invest in that sector properly and see from production? We need to, produce a lot more efficiently than we do. To process, right? That's on the value add, angle of it, and then even delivery as well. There's so much that needs to be done. And it's right to discuss it as a matter of national security, because if you can't feed yourself, right, then you're in peril. So the only questions are, they described as it's new. It's not new.
Okay.
Suddenly we like to, our governments and our governments like to act shocked and surprised. There's no shock and surprise here. This has been there for a while, and we elected them into office to help us sort these issues.
All right, let's look through some of your messages. They're in already. Tony Nikeja, this government has really bruised the psyche of many. Watching the video of a Muslim woman narrate her ordeal in the hands of terrorists, I didn't know what this favored group of men in arms, I didn't know that these men in arms also rape women. Okay. Zen has a message here, apparently from yesterday, talking impeachment, but let's Lai Mohammed, gas and more hot air. Okay. Oga Lai is a funny man. BBC was able to locate the bandits interview and film them, but the Nigerian security apparatus is unable to locate and flush them out. Sheikh Gumi being sanctioned and dealt with for always siding with the bandit. Has the Sheikh Gumi been sanctioned? That's what this message is. But how is the BBC and others like Gumi able to see them? But shouldn't the BBC have informed the government before going to interview them so we can track their hideouts? Nerocello is in. He says, I just realized that there's nothing like Fulani Hausa tribe. Religion has covered a lot. The Boko Haram is achieving their aim of no Western education by forcing government to shut down schools. Nerocello in Ogudu. Food security, more hot air, same old, same old. One more, and then we get back to the stories. Dami Nikeja, a government that has waged war on truth and disenfranchised the vast majority of the population cannot be trusted with information management. More messages coming in on the BBC story. But let's take it back to the headlines. Vanguard now. Federal government mauls 5% tax on call, text, data. Mr. C, the Nigeria telecommunications consumer may need to tighten their belts in the days ahead, as the federal government has concluded plans to impose 5% excise duty on telecommunications services ranging from calls, SMS, and data. What do you make of this story?
Okay, thank you, Victor. So, on goods and services used in the telecom industry. Now, we must not forget that already they pay 7.5% as VAT. The truth of the matter is, this is just another means for the government to raise money. Yes, the question will be asked: if the law was signed, if the law was signed into force in 2020, why are they just considering implementing it now? Nigeria's economic situation is very dire now, and in the past few weeks, we recently discovered that officially we're now at the point where we're spending more to service our debts than actually getting in as revenue. And the federal government is looking for whatever reason. If they're addressing them, we're not privy to the details. There's large scale theft of our crude oil production on a daily basis. And we haven't seen any concrete public steps taken by the government to address that. Because imagine losing reportedly about 50% minimum of your daily oil production. That money saved every day will help to plug the shortfall that we're currently experiencing. So ultimately, if this is passed, the ultimate beneficiaries are the people who will pay this duty are the telecom subscribers.
Well, you've said everything that needs to be said. Nigerians are complaining that the burden is too much, and it was also the position of ATCON, Association of Telecommunications Company of Nigeria, saying the burden too much on Nigerians already, and we cannot proceed with this. But the argument of the Minister of Finance is that we're moving away from oil revenues to non-oil revenues, and this is one way the government seeks to generate more revenue in terms of running government. We lack money right now in Nigeria, and we cannot depend only on oil. We're saying let's diversify to non-oil. This is one of the non-oil revenues that the government is looking at.
You should expand the tax brackets, not overtax those who are paying. Do you understand? It seems
It's
lazy.
disingenuous, yeah.
Okay, let's keep it going. House of Representatives probes INEC's credibility and alleged constraints to produce voter cards. Sunday 31st is the last day for registration, and a lot of questions have come up. They are asking, will INEC be able to produce these cards before the 2023 general elections?
Is prepared, and there are real concerns around registration, around being able to produce, permanent, voters cards. All my registrations, I still, haven't, received, the very permanent one, the plastic, It's also there are concerns around producing the cards and all of those things, and then obviously the costs. And we know that they've been granted this in the budget. The other thing the lawmakers focused on were more around, and perhaps, if I were to be cynical, this is probably more the intent around them calling it, where, some of the comments being made by, I think it was the REC in Akwa Ibom, saying that politicians who purchase more than one form, stand prison time, and and all of that. I think his comments them and said, that they were misinterpreting the Electoral Act. But I would expect, and then therefore said they should have consulted with the lawmakers of the House of Representatives before making statements. I would like to argue that it's not that they shouldn't be consulting with the House of Representatives. They should be consulting with their lawyers, and and at most a court of competent jurisdiction. But with their lawyers to say, okay, what is the interpretation of this law, and what does it mean, and whatnot. But this again, the elections are around the corner. It's only normal that we hear more around the oversight functions from lawmakers on INEC.
All right, let's keep it going because of time. Mr. C, in the Vanguard, terrorist attack military checkpoint in Abuja, kill soldiers in a shootout. Now, unknown number of soldiers were said to have been killed yesterday night by Boko Haram terrorists who stormed an army checkpoint around Zuma Road, border between the FCT and Niger State. In fact, 8:30 p.m. along the Madala Suleja road, that's Abuja Kaduna Highway, very close to the nation's capital, or perhaps the nation's capital if you want to look at it that way.
Okay, Victor, thank you. So this attack took place very close to Zuba. And for people who are familiar with Abuja, Zuba is a major transportation hub. Now, it gets very scary that the people who have the best training amongst Nigerians, who supposedly have the best firearms, the best equipment, are being attacked easily by these terrorists. What's then portend for the average Nigerian?
Now, have the terrorists left the forest and are taking this war directly into the town, to the city center?
It would appear so. And there have been a number of seemingly unrelated events. A presidential advance team was attacked. Nothing came out of that. A detachment of the presidential guards that was sent to the law school because of some perceived threat was also attacked. And there are different accounts. One account says 13 soldiers kidnapped. Well, naturally, the army authorities said it wasn't true. Another account says 6 of them died, including the captain. Again, the army has denied it. Now they're steadily coming to Abuja. Are the security authorities waiting for Abuja to come under siege? Because right now, if you have anyone in Abuja, they will tell you the air is tense. The law school ceremony had to be moved from its traditional venue to a new venue. The Senate, they have quickly gone on recess. They've taken off. They say they'll be back in 2 months. And there was a security council meeting. I think the army chief, alongside the IGP, said, they sat for 4 hours for some time The president has given them marching orders. Now, for the average Nigerian, I'm sorry, maybe it's the trust deficit playing here, but we've had so many of these Security Council meetings. Oh, marching orders have been given. They're going to implement new strategies. We can't discuss them in the media. But for the average man on the street, for me, you, for Tunde, what we're looking at is results.
Mm-hmm.
All these attacks, yes, you cannot prevent every single attack, but come on, guys.
You were here on Monday. The NSCDC, so sorry, today will come to you. The NSCDC had sent out a memo
Correct.
that Abuja will be attacked, Lagos will be attacked, Katsina states. There were a number of states mentioned. We're beginning to see, I mean, after that report, 3 days after, was seen or hearing a lot of these reports in Abuja, and soldiers seems to be the target. Should we be bothered Lagos? I mean, Lagos State, because most times we just sit and say it's raining. It's not raining on our roof yet until it gets close to coast.
Okay, so intelligence reports have suggested for a while now that there are Boko Haram and Islam cells in Lagos. They're already here. It's not that they're coming or they're on the way. They're here. And I think what has happened so far is they haven't been given the activation commands. Nigeria is under siege, and our security authorities do not seem to fully appreciate that fact. And maybe this attack was to test the response of the army. Because the report says they attacked after a while they left. What does that tell you? Maybe they were testing to see, okay, in the event of an attack, let's see how these guys are going to respond. And it doesn't inspire any hope or confidence in the average Nigerian when these attacks continue to happen. No one is apprehended, no one is brought to justice, and then we continue to hear rhetoric. And this is ostensibly coming from an enemy that was described years ago as technically defeated, whatever that meant.
All right, Tunde.
No, I was just going to point out, especially when Messi was talking about results, especially considering that we spent the large sums from the ECA on specifically on security, and we're not getting any results from it.
Okay, today let's just look at this story. Alleged 109 billion naira fraud. Court grants bail to suspended Accountant General Ahmed Idris and others. So, a federal high court in the FCT, Maitama to be more precise, yesterday granted bail to the suspended AGF Idris Ahmed and co-defendants, and he was charged with 109 billion naira fraud. Yet, it seems he's been granted bail.
So, to borrow a colloquial term, this story, the revenue to embezzle and embezzling so much, it busts my brain. Each time I think about it, it just keeps busting my brain. Now back to the issues of this particular story. It's in keeping with, the letter of the law. The law does say that people are entitled to bail, right? So that's the truth. And essentially, the judge is saying that the EFCC have not proven on and demonstrated the reasons why he shouldn't be granted bail. Is there clear evidence? Is he a flight risk? Did he? I think one thing else specific is that he misbehaved while under detention, and things to give them feelings that he shouldn't. So obviously, the judge had nothing but to act within the
Ambit of the law.
The ambit of the law. That's it's as simple as that. It's top and bottom of that. That's the top and bottom of it. And some of those things are not just national laws, but things that also borrowed around conventions on human rights and all of that. The angle I would like to add though is many things are a state of emergency. Impunity breeds corruption. Corruption is a huge drain. Countries, when they have been situations like ours, so extraordinary situations require extraordinary measures. If we say we take corruption seriously, perhaps we need to start to draft new laws, because part of the argument from the FCC is that the scale of fraud, they just have more tools. Any country that pulled itself out from corruption and into development had stiff rules. China.
Let's take some messages. We'll come back. The citizens, wickedness in high places, and the DSS and Security Council. Stealing 50% of daily oil production and no one is arrested must be a sci-fi movie we're watching. The Nigerian army that we used to know is gradually losing its competence with all these attacks. Political rhetoric. Security Council members are just pressing phones because I don't see its usefulness again. David is in. It appears the terrorists want to seize the capital as a prelude to seizing control of the country. Typical military tactics. We are at war. We just don't realize it yet. Our president appears to posture as someone getting ready to hand over the country to these terrorists. I don't agree with you, but that's your opinion. How can a civil servant afford a 5 billion naira bail if not guilty? That's Nii sending another message to us. And so we have this one from B in Lekki. One, militarize the NYC like it is done in Israel. Hire mercenaries from Russia, as this will help upgrade our military capacity in intelligence and combat, although it may already be too late. We're not saying that the Nigeria military is incapacitated. No.
I don't know which NYC training he is doing, but it's nowhere on the level as the training, the military training that's given in Israel.
I think what the military is seeking now is just an order, a marching order to go into action. And who is to give that order?
It's not even that. Look, let's be honest. It's also years, it's decades of decay, right? So to some degree, the military is hampered and incapacitated.
And so these terrorists and bandits are more trained and more skilled than
Because we hear it all the time. All the stories that they're better equipped, better armed. That they go into exchanges with them, and they wait. They know that our military are going to run out of bullets soon or rounds. We've read these stories.
But in addition to
both sides.
what Tunde has said, there's also the issue of military officials being compromised.
Yes, there's a lot of that, which is the decay. That also.
So why do we keep having these Security Council meetings 4 hours in and out, and the situation even gets worse?
That's what we don't want to face the real issue.
Well, we need to go. Thank you very much, Mr. C. You can catch him on Twitter at Monsieur C with a triple E, and Tunde Okufi. Thank you very much. It's Big Cool.